Oh, Andrea Tessmann.
Yes, Kirk Buchner.
October 15th, 1988. Do you remember what you were up to?
October 15th, 1988. I was probably planning my Halloween costume.
What? Do you remember what it was?
Couldn't tell you what it was.
Oh.
No. There's a few random pictures of me around that age. It might have been a black cat. I think I was an angel once.
I did.
Who knows?
I did see your recent Halloween picture, which was very. Was that part Photoshop, or is like all your makeup skills?
That was no Photoshop. That was just me.
That's awesome.
Playing around with some special effects makeup. It was there was some latex and a lot of fake blood involved. This is what happens when I'm left on a Friday night Zoom call, cocktail hour that we decide to turn into a costume party.
Well, see, what I was doing in October 15th, 1988, not that you asked, but I'll tell you, was probably doing nothing because I was a loser in high school. But that's okay. If I went to the movies, I might have caught a flick called Mystic Pizza. The first film by a young ingenue named Julia Roberts. I hope her career worked out. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound like the greatest start.
No, especially when a movie's called Mystic Pizza. Never did see that. A new book came out that was rocketing to the top of the New York Times bestseller, A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking.
Oh.
And if you were watching baseball, and I was, this was what I was doing, because I did watch this. There you go. And it was a Saturday night, so of course I was home watching baseball by myself in high school. But that's okay. Someone with the same first name as me, Kirk Gibson, blasted a home run. He came off the bench as a pinch hitter, gimping the entire time because he could barely move. He was going to be the MVP of the National League that year, but at that point he was cert. He blasts a home run in the 9th inning. Los Angeles Dodgers win that game, and they went on to win the World Series, 4-1 over the heavily favored Oakland Athletics. But if you were turning on the radio, but just in the United States, I have to focus this. You might have heard Red, Red Wine by UB40. And this is the second time I'll mention a Facebook picture of yours. What's your current Facebook picture right now?
It is a picture of me making a very sad face, drinking red wine through a Twizzler that I took last night while watching the election.
Which, as of this listening, or as the time we're recording, it's still up in the air.
Still undecided. Yep. Very, very close margins on a few states.
It's like the extra episode I didn't really need of a favorite show. Like, just end this already. But
it's like ending your season on a cliffhanger. It's not fair.
Totally.
Season finale of USA ended on a cliffhanger.
It's God knows when that's going to end. And then it's going to turn into Law and Order or whatever the hell, some legal show. Bum bum. But I was confused because I picked this song, and it was a last-minute decision, actually, because usually when I make a decision, I have it decided before we do our calls. I think you probably are the same. And this wasn't actually one I was going to go with. I had a few sort of like, to borrow a Pelosi term, arrows in the quiver that I was going to go to, and then I was just sort of looking at random years. It's like, I'd like to learn more about UB40. I really would. But then after I made that, and I was looking like, wait a minute, 1988? This can't be right. And I was so thrown off. Because I remembered this song when I was around 12. Because around that time, I used to record like music videos. And I remember recording that. And I was thinking, well, I know I wasn't doing that when I was 16. Because that was something I just did for like a year or two, and it wasn't around that same time. So like I was massively confused. But yes, this was a song that already went number one in Canada, in February of 1984, and it was released in '83. It was a number one hit all over the world. So this is actually.
So it wasn't a number one. It wasn't a number one hit when it was released in 1983.
No, 37.
It topped the charts international. I thought it was 64, but 37. Yeah. Either way, sorry. From what you said, I was a little confused there, but no, I'm on the same page now. Continue.
Yeah. So that's like I had to keep going like back and forth because I thought I was losing my mind. Like, geez, I know I did a lot of illicit drugs at one point in time, but my long-term memory is pretty damn good. And it turned out I was right. I wasn't losing my mind. And I'm really glad that this is the one I picked. I enjoyed sort of going back, but I guess the story of the song starts from 1968. Another thing I did not know, that this was a Neil Diamond song.
I had no idea, and I was a little bit shocked by that.
Did you listen to it, the Neil version?
Yeah, it's sad, and it's not great. It's not memorable.
It did chart. Apparently, went to number 52. But when I was listening to Neil's version, again, it doesn't really. It wasn't necessarily his best work, but other people certainly thought so. Did it not sound to you, because it sure sounded that way to me, that this is something that if you're a reggae artist, you can sort of hear, I can make this a reggae song easy. Because even the beat to it, I don't know if Neil was inspired by reggae. I doubt it. I couldn't find anything about it. I kept looking to see what his inspiration was. All I can find is, and I'm sure you found that too, is that when he does perform it, he does the UB40 background to it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I heard. But I don't know. I think maybe we just are so familiar with the reggae version that you're hearing that in your head anyway.
I could be. It very well could be. Either way, this wasn't covered by UB40 first in terms of a reggae version. Two people took a shot at it, but most notably Tony Tribe, Jamaican who I couldn't find whether he was living in England at the time, but a Jamaican-born nevertheless. Had a minor hit with that in 1969 in England.
And that is the version that UB40 thought they were covering. They had no idea that Neil Young actually wrote it, even though they saw N. Young as the song credit.
Neil Young?
As the writing credit.
Neil Young did this?
What?
You said Neil Young.
Yeah. I said Neil Young. Neil Diamond.
They
had no idea.
I confuse those two all the time.
What?
I confuse those two all the time.
They're both Neils. Come on.
Yeah.
These are the days I know. Never mind.
No, I actually had that song in my head yesterday. That's really creepy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Good old Kids in the Hall.
Absolutely. But yeah, you were going to tell the story of who they thought it was.
Yeah, they thought it was the cover, what they thought was the original, and they had no idea it was Neil Diamond, and they figured it was some Jamaican, and I don't know if there's actually a guy by this name or if they just made up a name that sounded Jamaican. Was it Nevis Diamond?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this properly. Negus, Negus. So apologies to Mr. Diamond if he's listening, which I presume he's not, but apologies for a potential mispronunciation of that name. So I just assume he was another reggae act. I couldn't find out much about him either. But yeah, from that, and that's something they thought they were covering. But UB40 had already been around for quite a bit. I knew that they had done well in England. I had no idea how well. So much so that they should probably change their name. That's another thing I learned. UB40. Standing for Unemployment Benefits 40. So they named themselves after a government form.
Yes.
Crazy.
I didn't know that either. So I have to admit something.
Yeah.
While I'm very familiar with this song, because everybody is, and they did a cover of Can't Help Falling in Love that is also very well known. I didn't really know a whole lot about UB40. I knew they were a British reggae band, and I knew they were like multiracial, but I fully assumed that the black dude was the singer. I don't know why I assumed that. I mean, that was my assumption. So,
see, when I was a kid, I had the opposite assumption. Indirect. Well, only because I saw the video, right? And the video was primarily of the lead singer. So you didn't really see any of the other bands. So I thought, like when I was younger, I mean, I learned that later, but I thought they were an all white band.
Well, yeah, the video, and I don't know that I ever watched the video. It's. I read somewhere that. So the video is just basically a guy getting drunk at the pub, lamenting about his life, and it's a bunch of very white-looking Brits getting drunk in a pub, and apparently they filmed this in the morning, but they just went to a neighboring factory, got a bunch of guys to come over and paid their tab to get drunk while they filmed the video. And then sent them all back to work hammered, and probably okay. Sorry. And apparently they all got fired for being drunk on the job, and then apparently all hired back later.
This will sound like a very weird segue, but I'm going somewhere with this. You ever watch Westworld?
Yes.
Okay, so. No spoilers on season 3. I haven't gotten to it, but I know that in Westworld, there's your cowboy thing. You say Westworld, Shogun World, I guess Raja World, and I understand War World. I don't know why anyone would say, you know what, I want to go to 1943 German occupied Italy. Why the hell did they come up with that? I want to have late 70s, early 80s British music scene, but I just want to go back and be part of all that. The birth of British punk, the ska revival that happened there. England just seemed like musically, well, it always, I don't want to say always is, because there's certainly been lulls in that, but that seems so interesting to me. But there's always a big theme here. Punk and a lot of also the ska music. And here, like their early music was essentially just lamenting. I mean, just the fact of the name of the band, how shitty everything was in England in the late 70s. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of their music was.
Well, it makes sense with that type of music. Like it's all it's very angry for the most part. But then he was saying that when that Ali, whatever his last name is, I'm blanking now.
Campbell.
Yes, he was saying that when he grew up, he grew up in a very immigrant community with very multiracial, and he said that that reggae was the music he listened to, and along with punk and other things. But he said that reggae is just happy music. It's just, even if you're singing sad lyrics about drinking your sorrows away, it still is happy because of that beat behind it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a very interesting genre that it's such a shame that some people just listen to a couple Marley songs when they're on vacation and they think they really understand reggae.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys too, I mean, were his friends, and again, multi-ethnic. So white people, black people. One gentleman is of Yemeni background, but also too like members from England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. So you've really got the whole UK gamut run into this, and I think if these styles of music are going to happen anywhere, the UK, with their whole colonial past, needless to say, you're going to get a lot of people from those past colonies immigrate to your country. So there's a high concentration of Jamaicans in England, and has been for a long, long time, and from other Caribbean countries, such as the one I live in right now, Barbados. And so like that to me is like, I don't know that UB40 could have happened anywhere else other than England, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, it just really is a very multicultural community, as you said, and it would be weird, like, for a bunch of Canadians, for example, to, a bunch of white West Coast Canadians couldn't start a reggae band.
Well, they could, but it probably wouldn't be very good.
Yeah, you could start a ska band, though, and that's got a similar feel to it.
Yeah, but with my background, I better just stick to polka. I've actually, this has actually happened. When I had sort of my iPod shuffle, I've actually had it go from one Wu-Tang song to the Beer Barrel polka. My musical taste runs virtually everything. I think also too, it wasn't also too that this is, some people think that when they look at UB40, it's the first time you've got a white group, and again, we just tackle how they're not all white, but tackling reggae. When that's been done for so many years. Blondie had one of their most enduring hits was a reggae song with "The Tide Is High." The Police essentially did reggae songs with it was reggae rock. It was brilliant with what they did. So this wasn't exactly a different type of idea, and for that to sort of like crack the top 40. And when I look at everything that they did in the UK, their chart success, it's filthy how successful these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they predominantly do cover songs. I don't know that they really produced a lot of original stuff, and it certainly wasn't their popular stuff. And then they also just keep re-releasing the same music on new albums and selling it again.
Well, they did have a lot of...
Not a common band model.
Well, they did have a lot of new material. It just didn't do as well, especially outside of England.
And maybe that's it.
So, like a lot of their hits in England, not the ones that went to the U.S., were stuff that they penned themselves. But when they're doing some of these other covers, I mean, it's just maybe there's just something that the American, we'll just say the Canadian audience, can't really understand when you've got a white-fronted reggae band singing about about the blight of England and dumping on Margaret Thatcher. It doesn't quite always translate. I mean, look at a band that you and I just assume you know them as well as I do. The Tragically Hip, probably the greatest band Canada ever produced. And when they tried to make it in the States went meh.
Fun fact: my first ever album I bought was Tragically Hip. Road Apples.
Nice. It's just what translates and what doesn't. So then I guess So actually, I'm just looking at all their top 10 hits in England. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. That's just the 80s. 4 more in the 90s, and then that was it. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a lot. So then how does a song in 83 become a number one hit in the United States 5 years later?
Well, that's an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's because when they recorded it originally, they recorded that, the rap bit, not rap, what do they call it?
Toasting.
Toasting, yeah. So they recorded that in with it, but then it was taken out before they released it in 83. Then when they were about to put out the album in 88, I guess the version with the toasting got released as a single or something. And hey, back to A&M Records, our good friend Herb Alpert. So when A&M was releasing it in 88, whoever their promo guy was like, hey, wait, hold off on the release. I think we need to put this song back onto this, or add it into this album and let me promo it because I think it'll do well.
Yeah, for the U.S. version, because I wasn't on the U.K. So, but it was also through the power of radio, where a guy in Phoenix watched them perform that song on the Nelson Mandela 70th anniversary birthday show.
Right.
And so he pushed it, and that became like a major hit locally in Phoenix. That's one of the last. I don't want to say the last. I'm sure that happened a bit in the 90s too. But that's something that would never happen today. No DJ, no radio station is going to make a song anymore. That just doesn't happen.
No, nobody listens to the radio like that anymore. Nobody wants to hear people droning on. That's not true. I listen to news radio all the time, but that's just...
Yeah, but that's news radio.
People drone on. If I want to listen to songs, I don't care what your shock jock, sense of humor is going to say in between songs, and I don't care about the traffic. Just play music for me. Mm-hmm. So I just stream.
I hate disc jockeys. I despise them. Always talking over everything.
I did enjoy watching WKRP in Cincinnati, though.
All right, now I'm going to go on a tangent here because you just brought up something here. All right, so you'll have to reel me back in because I'll just go on this forever. So you see remember how that show ended?
No.
Okay, so in the last episode...
I don't know if I ever watched the whole thing.
Well, on the last episode, it got revealed that Mama Carlson pretty much wanted the station to fail. Their latest ratings came out and they moved up to number 6. How I know this in great detail, it's because I can't tell you what I ate this morning, but I can tell you everything about that damn show and a bunch of other shit that is completely irrelevant to life. Anyways, so she's pretty much she decides that it's in their best interest for them to become a news station, even though it would, in the short term, it would completely tank all the ratings and everything. And as it turned out, she wanted the WKRP. She had a lot of other companies to be a loss leader. She wanted it to fail. Ironically, WKRP is an AM station. If they actually went news, they'd probably be massive and still actually doing well. There's no way anyone's listening to WKRP now because you're on AM. Sorry, because no one's listening to me. If you're going to listen to radio, it sure as hell isn't going to be any kind of music.
Nice.
So I just throw that there.
Let's reel this back.
Thank you.
To the wine. Back to red wine.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, with that, I want to look at actually the other hits that UB40 had in the United States, and again, sort of typical of songs that you wouldn't think would necessarily be hits, but they were. The other one that you mentioned earlier, number one, was 93, I believe, the Elvis cover of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, pushed by a movie, because that was on the Sliver soundtrack. I finally watched that movie again for the first time in 20 years because it's on Netflix. What a hunk of shit that was. But that was also back when, when everyone thought Sharon Stone was the hottest woman on the planet. Maybe she was. I don't know. I never thought so because she's white and I don't like white women, but that's another story for another time. That's how it is. Especially a blonde one. What am I going to do with that?
So anyways, were you continuing on with Can't Help Falling in Love, or...
Well, there are other minor hits that did well. This song I never particularly cared for. Their cover with Chrissie Hynde, of all people. Oh, crap.
Yeah, I wasn't...
I Got You, Babe. Yes.
I Got You, Babe. Yeah. I wasn't really super into that.
No, and I never really cared for the original. It's just really, really hokey. I don't think it worked as a reggae song. Having said that, a lot of people bought it, so what do I know?
Yeah. I wasn't super into it either.
The other thing, too, that I think is really interesting is, and I kind of got that wrong, when I introduced that we were going to do the song last week, where I said, yeah, and they're still touring, which they are, but I had no idea about the entire acrimonious relationship between the brothers and everything that's sort of between the Campbell brothers and everything that went on there. So there's essentially two versions of it. I mean, UB40 that still has the name. This I couldn't figure out for the life of me. I tried to find out a lot more. So in 2008, Ali Campbell leaves the band, citing issues with management, and it looks like he's going to pursue a solo career. Wasn't quite what happened because he took Astro. He was the gentleman who did the toasting, and he was with the band from day one also, with him. And another member of the band who also went, Mickey Virtue. So those three sort of have that. And then it's replaced by his older brother? Like, what the hell? I've never seen anything like that. And although his brother could sing, he really didn't have a whole lot of success in it. I mean, their father was a mid-level folk singer in the UK.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some of the jobs that this guy had before. Duncan's his name. And one of the jobs is like managing a casino in Barbados. Well, I live in Barbados. The casinos here are pretty much just are slot machines attached to a bar. It's not that impressive. That's all it is here. I mean, there's nothing. I don't quite know. I mean, apparently he said that he was recruited first, and then he turned it down, thinking that the band was crap. Whether he was joking about that or not, I don't know. But how weird is this?
It's a weird dynamic. I was a little confused by it.
I'm still confused by it. And whatever happened, I'm guessing Ali might be a bit of a prick. Don't know. Not sure. But the way that the other guys who stayed with that band, with the band will sort of tell it, it's, just things got to his head. Whether that's true or not, don't know. Either way, they're not talking. Duncan had a stroke recently, and Ali didn't see him. Didn't bother. That didn't patch it up. So I guess they haven't spoken in 12 years. So this is very Gallagher brothers, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's as I said before, it's a weird dynamic. And so Ali left the band in 2008, and then he got back with two of the guys recently. What did they call themselves? It was UB40 with who were the other two guys?
Wasn't it Mickey Virtue and Astro?
Yeah, that's it. It was just, with Ali, Mickey, and Astro. And, it's strange because if you look at the current members of the band, it's like the other seven of them. And then, Ali, Mickey, and Astro are now reforming a different version of UB40. It's weird.
No, it's very weird. I would imagine, and I couldn't find, concert receipts to sort of like see this, but I would imagine that with Ali and Astro, you're probably, that would be the bigger draw, wouldn't it?
I mean, that's where the sound was when they, with the hits they had. He's the front man. It's his voice. Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, you just replace it with the brother and think no one's going to notice. Ali's really also harsh, too. He said, like, no, I've been watching Duncan destroy my legacy for the last 12 years. Like, Jesus. And one of the other brothers stayed behind, Robin Campbell.
Robin, yeah.
So, like, holy crap. I mean, I guess Thanksgiving, well, they don't have Thanksgiving in England. Christmas at the Campbell household, it must be great. As John Bender would say, it was a banner day at the old Campbell household at Christmas time. No, that didn't work? Okay, I tried. Not all of my impressions are good, Andrea. I try.
No, that one missed the mark a little bit.
Well, I missed a lot. Although my Trudeau impression is getting really, really good. I'm not going to do it. It's just basically me apologizing and then wishing that I had lady parts. Okay. I am going to do it. Want to hear it?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Hi, I'm Justin Trudeau, and I just want to say that I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I identify with all of the women out there because I'm a feminist. So much so that I actually wear panties. And I've tried to menstruate, but even if I don't menstruate, and even if you don't menstruate, you can still be a woman too. Because that's how I see you. And this is a teachable moment for all Canadians. Huh? What do you think?
I'm laughing despite myself. That's pretty terrible, but
what?
Terrible? Not entirely not accurate.
Well, the content. Okay, maybe I don't have the voice down, but the content. I've got the content down.
And the timing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you got it.
So, I guess last look at UB40. I have no segue, so I'm just going to go right back to the band at hand. I enjoyed going through their discography. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm glad I picked it. And it exceeded all my expectations. I have a new respect for this group. And I kind of wish the Campbell brothers are going to get back together and sort of put away whatever differences that they have. I don't even know. I still don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's sibling rivalry. I don't know, but it's too bad.
So you're up next. What do you got for us? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I enjoyed listening to some reggae this week. It was a good change of pace from the 60s.
Well, so like when you were listening to Herb Alpert last week, you were worried that someone was going to come in to like sexually harass you in the office. What was the vibe for you this week?
It just made me appreciate legalized marijuana a little bit.
Yeah, like it was really ever a problem for you when it was illegal.
This is Canada.
Exactly.
So, my choices, I decided to jump forward and do something more current because we've been hanging out in, the before I was alive time a lot. And so I was thinking about current, and then I was looking at 90s, and then I'm like, that is not current, that is 20 years old. Mm-hmm. So I decided to come all the way up to 2012.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I picked a singer with an unpronounceable name with a song called Somebody That I Used to Know.
Ah, okay.
And I believe Gautier is how it's supposed to be pronounced.
I think it's Gautier.
Could be.
Well, we'll have to nail that down for sure once we do that.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll have to figure that one out. I'm sure there's some phonetic things around about it. But I was like, you know what? I was looking at all the music from the 2010s, and there's a lot of there's a lot of fun party music. And then I was like, actually, I really like this song. So we'll see if I still like it after listening to it for a week. Not that I really listened to it for a week, but it's interesting because I haven't heard anything about this guy since then.
No, me either. That might have been one of the last songs I legally purchased. Because now it's just like everything. I think after that, I guess the iTunes came up with their subscription packages. It just made more sense at that point. So. But yeah, no, I liked that song a lot at that time. I can't see why not. Yeah, sure. This will be interesting. Very interesting.
All right. Hopefully we find some information.
Yes. But before we go, I forgot to read a comment that we came from your friend Brad Nelson.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
what does Brad have to say?
Okay, here's what Brad had to say. It was a comment actually on "You're Having My Baby," but not about that song. This was a comment directed towards me directly, because I guess on that one I mentioned his previous comment. So, to quote, "I don't hate you, Kirk, and I'm proud to be the first man you disappointed." And thank you, I think. You're welcome. I'm not sure which one's really right at this point. But we'll run with that.
All right. I'm glad we're getting feedback.
Absolutely. We are. Oh, also, too, we've also got our first request. I have to check to see if that went number 1. So, actually,
not our first request. Our first request was Milli Vanilli.
That's true. Okay, we have another request. So I don't know if we're going to let a request go next. You know what? We'll look that up right now. The request is for "Sex and Candy" by Marcy's Playground.
Ooh, so Marcy's Playground.
Yeah. Let me see if that went number 1. Because I should have had this prepared, but that's not something I'm good at. Why would I want to prepare things? That go number 1. Dun, 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 dun. Went number 1 in Canada. Went number 1. Nope. It went number 8.
Oh.
Whamp, whamp.
Oh, well.
Yes. And I don't know what sex smells like, but I don't think it's like candy. Unless it's like edible underwear. Okay, maybe that's what that's about.
Or like Valentine's Day?
Jeez, maybe we should do that. That might be really interesting. Huh. Now that's going to be in my head for the rest of the night. Oh, well. And it's in your head, all of you who are listening. Stay safe, Andrea. Stay safe, everyone.
You too, Kirk. Have a good night.
Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care.